Hello, Jim Howard here. I don't have, it's almost 6 a.m. in the morning. Darlene, my ex-wife, placed an order for some groceries. It'll be here at noon. Not a big order, but a small order. I don't really have anything to talk about, but Mandicam is doing so well. Well, I think I've only had one, but looks like it's doing well. So I just had to, give it another spin, just to, so I could go to bed here in a little bit and think, wow, I've accomplished something. This TV show, by the way, This Is Your Life, that was back from the early days of television. It's kind of interesting. I was around when there wasn't any television. I can remember when it started. I remember when my parents got a TV set, and there wasn't this WDAF TV wasn't broadcasting yet. And then finally they started broadcasting a 30-minute or an hour travelogue or something, And then time goes by, eventually it was 2 TV stations and then 3. And then there was a UHF, TV station. This Is Your Life used to be, and of course I don't think they had videotape. They could tape it in some way. Not tape, I don't know. But anyway, this thing, they surprise somebody, This Is Your Life. And then they bring family out or people that, really pretty bad programming. But it was one of the early TV shows that Queen for a Day. And even back then when it was like, television was new, but I thought, God, they'd have like 3 women on. And I think it was always the same. I think it was the same thing, maybe not. I mean, the same thing that the women had. Maybe it was different. Maybe you could ask for a refrigerator or an oven or something like that. It was... And these women would then tell these, horrible, horrible stories. You'd sort of want to cry for them or something. I mean, and then one of them would win. Now, I don't know, maybe the other 2, maybe they got $50 or something. I don't think they got anything. And then somebody would get, the woman would say, well, I've got, I've got 5 kids and don't have any washing machine. I think that might have been before dryers, Anyway, something that always kind of surprised me is when things pop up like this, it just kind of blown my mind that, let's see if you give the date. Anyway, it just, oops. Like Wyatt Earp and other people like that, even Civil War people were alive And anyway, you can do a search and you can find out, what happened to Wyatt Earp. He lived into modern times. I'm not sure if there's probably more than one organization. There's several organizations. There was some organization that, after the Civil War came to a conclusion, some people went out and found these historians. They went out and found these slaves and recorded, information, and put it in archives. I'm sure it's in Washington, D.C., and the library, the big library they have or something, or maybe in other locations. You could actually, hear what the, actual slaves were actually saying. Of course, after the Civil War, for quite a few years, there were reunions of, the Confederacy and the Union, and these people would get together who had been shooting at each other and killing each other, and they would get together and, I don't know, probably exchange their insignias and do stuff like that. The Civil War. And then there's also, I've seen a few of them on YouTube, so there's probably more that I'm not aware of, where people are interviewed for archive purposes. So there are, interviews with some of these remarkable people, and it's, saved, people won, a Medal of Honor or all types of things. There's just all types of these interviews with people. And I saw one interview of the guy from Lost in Space, the guy that started out in Lost in Space TV thing. I mean, he was a really bad dude. He was trying to sabotage the family going into space, and then he gets somehow knocked out and ends up going with them on the, because he was in the ship or whatever. I saw an interview with him, one person asking him questions, and that was pretty remarkable because he knew that on that show that he was not going to be around for long, and so he plotted, working with the robot, and I guess he submitted some ideas and did stuff like that with the deliberate idea that he, was going to make sure that he was going to be in the show for a long time, and it worked. And the other actors in the, in that show were like, hey, he's stealing my time. He's stealing my, that type of. So that was interesting. There's a whole bunch of interesting stuff out there, and I'm sure there's a lot on YouTube that I haven't even seen, but it's really interesting. I want to go back, I think, to CNN. Was it CNN? I'm really looking good with this camera right now. Wow, Russia caused major flooding in Ukraine. Now it's of course saying here, Ukrainian troops saw Russian soldiers swept away in the floodwaters. Somebody says everything is going to die here. Speaks of after the dam breaks. It says U.S. received intel from European ally that the Ukrainian military was planning an attack on the Nord Stream pipelines. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I think that that's the pipelines from Russia that go into Europe, and especially it's needed for like when cold weather comes around. And so I'm not sure that this is, correct. Would the Ukraine actually do that? Cut off the supply of oil to Western Europe, who is supporting, NATO is supporting them. So I don't know. You have to wonder about some of this. Well, all of the information that is it accurate and true? Let's see, New York City is engulfed in smoke from Canada's wildfires. New York Yankees host Chicago White Sox in a smoke-shrouded game following the Canadian wildfires. Oh, you're not saying what I'm saying. Okay. All these shootings and things that that's happening here in the United States. If I were, somebody in Western Europe or whatever thinking of vacationing someplace, I don't think I would, I don't think I'd go to the United States. Maybe go to Canada. Maybe Mexico or something, but not the United States. Let's see. Lula Mon stands by decision to fire employees who intervened in a robbery. I'm guessing that's a restaurant. It looks like a clothing store of some kind. Stands by the decision to fire 2 employees who tried to intervene during a theft at one of its stores. A lot of businesses. Even their loss prevention people are told, don't, try to discourage people, if you're in uniform or something, but stores don't want something bad, to happen to the employees or to customers. But I don't know, on the other hand, it's only merchandise, so I never worked retail security at any place. Well, I take it back. There's probably a few places that I wasn't really, I was there for like I worked at a grocery store for a while. And that grocery store was being held up like weekly. I know that's unbelievable. Armed robbery weekly. And I only worked there a few days. I didn't bail out or anything. That's where I was sent to work. It was an extra job. I was working hospital security, and then this was working for Burns, Pinkerton, or Wells Fargo or something like that. And I know this grocery store was very close to the Veterans Hospital in Kansas City, Missouri. But so anyway, I showed up, and of course they never, those contract guard agencies, they never give you a proper orientation. They never tell you anything. They never, I mean, it was terrible. But anyway, I showed up, but I checked the, the book where the officers that worked there that made a report or wrote information down for whoever came after them. And the place, this grocery store, was being held up. I mean, once a week for sure, and maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I thought, God damn, hire some off-duty police officers to not stand in there like we were, but be out in a parking lot or something, sitting in a unmarked, police car doing, I thought, they need more. Anyway, I read one of the things, and the security officer was in one of the checkout lanes. They had 7 or 8 checkout lanes. And he was in, one of the lanes. And a guy comes through and is robbing at gunpoint. The person, the security guard is here. This guy's standing in front of him and whatever. I mean, that's... And I didn't work there very long, but I was working there. And I was alert. And a car pulls in by the, didn't park in the parking lot, pulls up, the curb right there by the entrance and exit door. And a black male, I guess I can say this, behind the wheel. And 2 guys come in. Is this racist of me? I don't think it is. Especially because of course, I know my record. And of fighting prejudice or whatever on the job when I was like the only one. So anyway, the two guys come in. And one guy is... he comes in to the area where the little place they had where they cashed checks and did stuff like that. You people probably don't know what checks are, but anyway. And the other guy comes in, which is the same area, and he goes to the window where the manager or assistant manager was, where the money was. And so I sort of took, I didn't get behind anything. I was standing out in the open. But, I unsnapped and put my hand on, the revolver. And then I was just looking. And then the guy who went to, no, it was the guy who came in but didn't go to the cashier thing. But this guy starts coming, there was no reason for him to be coming towards me, And I thought, okay, there's going to be a shooting here. And then he came towards me, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I got my hand on the revolver. And then he hollers at the guy that's at the, whatever, name or something, let's go. And then they both left, and they both got in the car and drove away. No, I did not call the police. The police knew what was going on. The place was being held up, weekly, and I don't know if the police weren't, I don't know if the police were so busy that they couldn't do it, or if that store, wasn't hiring off-duty, Kansas City, Missouri police officers. I don't know what the situation was, but I know, especially back at that time, I didn't call the police. But anyway, I called the police, of course, a few times for situations. Right across from the hospital there for a while there was a tavern, and there was shootings in there quite often, and fights right across from and the hospital was, I heard, I didn't know this in fact, but I'm sure that the hospital was contacting the police department saying, can you shut that place down for, whatever reason, shut it down because there's too many of this or that going on. And, I mean, it was right across the street from the emergency room, right down the street a little bit. And we had people come in there. I mean, there's one time, a whole bunch of people come bursting through, and they're carrying this guy. And they just go, it just happened that, the door, they were inside, but the door could be controlled by security. By pushing the door would open up the emergency, where you go directly in the emergency room. Well, you were, or the unit secretary for who signed people in or whatever, she could hit the button, and then the nursing people could hit the button to open the door. The door just happened to open up. I don't think any of those people pushed the thing. So I go right in there, and then right away the treatment room was fairly small. And they put this guy on the, on the cart, and the room was filled with people who came, through with him. So then and of course the ER doctor wasn't going to go in there, and the nurses weren't going to. Well, there wasn't room for them to go in there. So of course I'm, please, let, of course they're yelling and screaming, help him, he's been shot, and whatever. And I said, you all need to leave, go outside so the doctor and the nurse can do their work. You need to leave or whatever. And a few of them did leave. And then, I have a feeling I told this before. Then there was an older black male there. And I said, sir, can you help me? And he said, sure. And then he said, okay, come on. Like they were like his family. Maybe he was a grandpa or whatever. And they left, and then the doctor and everybody came in. And then when I went outside, that area was filled, standing. There was a big waiting room, but that area was filled with, oh, you can't see all my hand movements. Oh, you can a little bit, can't you? That area was filled, and so I said, okay, you need to go to the waiting room. You need to go to the waiting room. And I've been shot. And then sure enough, what happens in these shootings a lot of times is, the bullet hits concrete or asphalt or marble, or depending on where it is, and splinters or rock or fragments of the bullet or something ends up in these people. So yeah, I had a waiting, and of course we had good security not on the midnight shift. Yeah, but I got on the radio, and then other security officers showed up. There was one on patrol, and there was two on patrol, and then the supervisor came, so. But how did I get on that subject? Pence has absolutely no chance of, making it, the former vice president of Trump. He has no chance of making it. As the nominee. I forget what, he was governor of some state. Can't remember, and then Trump picked him. I forget if he had one or two terms as governor of whatever state it was, and he's supposedly, religious. I mean, he talks like he's religious and, all that sort of thing. And he probably is. He's dumb enough that he could be. He was a terrible governor. And one reason, sort of fitting in with his religious ideals, there was I forget what it was. I think it might have been people dying of AIDS unnecessarily because they were reusing needles, and things like that, and it was really bad in that state, and some other states too. But I guess some of the other states, maybe all of them, set up a program where, hey, if you're a drug user, don't use dirty needles. We'll give you a new needle, so you don't have to. And he refused. I think even the legislature, and I think it might have been Republican. I think even the legislature was like, hey, we need to do this, and he refused. And so he lost the election, his re-election as governor. And I think that was kind of the reason. But because he didn't do anything, they had a problem, and he didn't work in any way to try to solve the problem. I guess he thought, let God sort him out or something, and then everybody said, that his political career was over. There wasn't any place in the Republican Party or, bye-bye. And Trump came along and picked him. And wow, and then of course, I could see, so then the Trump fans probably, yeah, okay, hey, great. But, I mean, the way he stood behind the president, Trump, and was lovingly, like, oh, my idol, I mean, the way he had to do that, God, do you have testicles, I mean, and stuff like that. And so I think this is the end of, well, he can write a book, and stuff, but, I think his political career is over with. I think Trump's political career is over with too, but if he may be the nominee of the Republican Party. I don't think so, though. I mean, he has a big following, still a big following of, people who believe in a cult or something. But he doesn't have enough, he lost the last, election, and he's losing more and more of the people. But he's keeping, the cult leaders are, they managed to do that, and there's a bunch of people. I got something in my eye and I rub my eyes too much. Anyway, enough of him. It's funny, Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey, and I guess, a Democrat, and a pretty good, I mean, so far as being an old-time politician, I'm not saying that's good, but being, one of the type of politicians who grew up and knew his area, knew his city or county or whatever it is, state, whatever. And apparently, Chris Christie was really good at that. And I think he's smart. And if he were to be, elected president, he'd probably be sort of a formidable, he'd be a problem against whoever, because he would be, now of course, if you remember, New Jersey is right next to New York City, and they have these tunnels, expressways, all this stuff, people living in New Jersey or going to whatever, all this kind of stuff. And they set it up, of course, with corporations or, I forget what they call them, agencies or whatever, and then, of course, those people, there has to be somebody that's, and they have more than one, they have a whole bunch, dealing with highways and the bridges and the tunnels and all that kind of stuff. And so, there's the chairman of the thing that makes, $200,000 or $250,000 a year, and then there's all these, people underneath them making big bucks, and there's all these kind of things, and if money going back and forth for, who cleans these things, who, if there's buses or trains that go, there's all of this stuff to make money. And that money's not going to, well, the employees might get, you know, like in New Jersey and New York, you know, they might be getting pretty good pay. But still, you know, it's these people that are raking in the money. Anyway, the election was coming, and Chris Christie was running again for governor, and he made his demands of the small towns, you know, little communities out there, whatever, all those mayors and whatever, you know, you better support me. I want a letter, you know, I want you to talk to your local news people and tell them how great I am and all this kind of stuff. So one of the mayors or somebody, I guess, you know, fuck Governor, you know, Christie, fuck him. You know, I'm the mayor of, you know, I'm guessing, you know, some town of 40,000 people. I'm the mayor. He's just a fucking governor, you know, whatever. So he didn't endorse him or something like that. And Chris Christie said, you know, if you don't endorse me, you're going to be wishing that you never even, you know, lived. And whatever. And they, fuck him. So Chris Christie just passed a word to the agencies or whatever. Shut down all the traffic that goes to New York City through the such and such a tunnel. And he gave other instructions, you know, and they shut him down. You know, it was, you know, you got these people that are expecting to, you know, and he shut all that shit, and it came out. Everything came out. And so then Chris Christie was looking to be, you know, the vice presidential candidate for Donald Trump. And I remember seeing a news thing where, and this is beautiful. Donald Trump is talking to the large crowd out there because he's the, I don't think he was the nominee, but he was going to be the nominee for sure. And so he calls up, you know, Trump calls up Chris Christie and asks him to come over, you know. So Christie comes over from New Jersey and is standing in the back, you know, the cameras can see, you know, Donald Trump in the back, you know, Chris Christie, the governor. I'm not sure if he was still the governor and hadn't left office yet, or maybe he wasn't governor anymore and was back there. And he, you know, Chris Christie was like, I mean, just, you know, like, you know, hanging on every word, you know. And of course, Christie knew better, like, oh my God, this guy's fucking stupid. But he wanted to be vice president of the United States, so he's back there. And then he wasn't called up to speak. So, you know, why was he there? He wasn't called up to say, you know, Donald Trump, you know, whatever. And so then Donald Trump turns around. This is true. It's on audio, and I think the video too, in a way. Trump turns around, goes back there, goes up to him, and says, "Okay, you can leave now. I don't need you." And then that was it. And now Chris Christie is, you know, apparently going to, not apparently, he's going to run against Donald Trump to try to get the Republican. And actually, for the Republicans, if they really wanted to try to help their, if they could, of course they've gone crazy. I mean, they're mentally ill, and also, I mean, but if the Republicans were to pick Chris Christie, you know, he might have a chance, maybe. I think the Republican Party is hurt so bad, though. They just need to get a new party. I mean, you know, let the Trumpies have their terrorist group, and start a new Republican Party or something. But, so, yeah, even if Chris Christie were to get the Republican nomination, I think there's enough people right now that are turned off against, against Trump and the Republican Party. So I don't think there's any way, Unfortunately, Democrats like me, we're stuck with our current president for another 4 years. But it says here why Republican lawmakers are revolting against McCarthy. That's the Republican Speaker of the House that, I swear to God, I might be off a few numbers. I mean, usually, whichever party has the most majority in the House of Representatives, then those people vote, in this case, the Republicans, they vote and pick the Speaker of the House. That's how he gets picked. And in the past, there might have been, basically it's pretty much, kind of settled. One vote, they pick them. Maybe 2 votes, they pick them. 3 votes, unheard of, that you'd have 3 votes for the Speaker, your Speaker of the House. And I think he had 89 votes. 89 times the Republicans voted. And deals were being made, I'll give you a blowjob, or whatever if you vote, it was ridiculous. And he should never have been picked. And anybody who wanted the job that bad, don't pick them. And so he was picked, but he had to make deals, to put some of the worst, some of the ones that are the Republicans that are mentally unbalanced and criminal and everything else, he put into key committees that they have. There are committees that are on different things, and this guy, and so things didn't go the way they wanted them to go, and now they're apparently upset with him, and I don't know what the Republicans can do. A block of Republican hardliners took down the GOP leadership's efforts on 2 bills this week, a move they said was a retaliation for Speaker Kevin McCarthy's deal with President Joe Biden to suspend the national debt limit. So, but he definitely needs to go. He needs to go, and he needs to go out of, the Speaker is a member of the House, and he needs to be out of Congress and out of any type of political thing. He put Republicans, that were elected to the House. He put them on key committees. He put one lady who is mentally unbalanced and unbelievably stupid, and he put her on one of the key committees, and maybe she's on some others too. And then he put some other people who had no way, they shouldn't even be in Congress. They're so bad, and he put these other people on these key and made deals, that he was going to. So, Lordy, help us. So let's see, what else? Pluto TV, it's free. Just go there with your browser. I got to be. I mentioned this before. It kind of pissed me off. I love UK Antiques Roadshow, and I got to make sure I don't. Well, one thing I'm not going to make sure I don't hit the speaker, unmute it. But this is like their feature thing. I think a lot of people go. I love the Antiques Roadshow. I've watched a lot of them, and they also have movies that are free. Now, they have some good movies, but oh, by the way, the Cider House Rules, that's excellent. And the one that's following it, by the way, 8 Men Out, is excellent. Of course, maybe if you're, outside the United States, that's about 8 Men Out is true story. But, about baseball, but they have, quite a few good movies. War of the Worlds, I'm sure it's the older one. Oh, here's War of the Worlds 2, the next wave. But the only thing is, their selection of, let me go to me, they have this list of movies, and there's some that are, movies that I would like to even watch, even watch again. So there's more that come over. But I think there's a, oh man, Antiques Roadshow, this is some interesting stuff. But I came here one time to tell you all about how great the Antiques Roadshow was, and I had it unmuted, and then there was a few words said or whatever, and I got a copyright hit from Antiques Roadshow, and I went there. I only talked for like 2 minutes, and I was trying to get the so. But I think that's really interesting. Anyway, they have a bunch of other stuff here on the movies, entertainment, news and opinion, game shows. They have quite a bit of stuff, and it's free. Classic TV. So, let me stop this. Although this is really, I haven't seen this show. Some of these I've seen before. Anyway, it's 6:06 a.m. But you know that, don't you? Well, you only know that if you're seeing this screen. Anyway, I hope. Whatever country you're from, do you cross your fingers for luck? I hope this video's okay and in sync and all that kind of stuff. Because now I have Manicam working here, and it's working over here. The new Bandicam that I purchased, not sure if I can get it. It worked for a while, and now it's got some problems. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please, click on something below. Click on the thumbs up. I don't know. Leave a thumbs up. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.